fellas, let's go. Here we go. Big play. Trips open right, 334 stretch, Z post, X stop, on two. Ready?
This is my dad's show.
It's called the Quarterback Dadcast.
Hey everybody, it's Casey Jaycox with the Quarterback Dadcast, and I'm excited to get to this next episode. But before that, I want to talk to you about my friends up at Acme Homes, which is one of the top home builders in the state of Washington. They're a home builder founded on the principles of honesty, integrity, and the goal of really building dreams for their customers. And what I love most about Acme is I know the owner. He's a former college teammate of mine, and he found the Quarterback Dadcast because of our friends up at Catch Sitka Seafoods, who've been a sponsor for us for now almost over a year. But what I love about Acme Homes, not because I love Bob and he's a salt of the earth guy, but when I had a chance to look at their website, when I had the chance to look at some of their homes and the craftsmanship, I was blown away. Established in 2006, Acme Homes provides itself on quality, professional service. They're innovative, functional. They have beautiful designs, competitive pricing, but most above all, you get what you pay for, and you get service. And Bob and his team consistently are one of the top home builders in the state of Washington. And right now, I want you to visit their site at acmehomeswa.com. That's acmehomeswa.com to learn about Sienna Heights. Over in Wenatchee right now, where it's always sunny, you can look at some amazing floor plans. They have anywhere from 1,900 square feet to 2,600 square feet. You got 4-bedroom, you got 3-bedroom. These homes start in the low 500,000. And as we think about getting away from this yucky Seattle weather right now, now's the time. With everybody having more flexibility to work remote and get to the east side of the state, now's the time to invest in that second home or maybe that first home you're going to move over to Wenatchee. Now's the time to do it. So I ask you to contact Bob and his team now at Acme, which is 425-903-1453. Also, if you have real estate inquiries, contact Jennifer or Denise at 425-308-8082 or 425-309-2318. So, huge shout out to Bob and team at Acme. I welcome you to the Quarterback Dadcast, and I hope that everyone takes time out of their day to take a look at Sienna Heights. But with that, let's get to today's episode. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to today's show. This is Casey Jaycox of the Quarterback Dadcast, and I want to give a huge shout out to Andy Paul for connecting me with our next guest, Mr. Scott Leese, from Western New York all the way down to Texas. He's a 3-time author. He's an investor. He's a 6-time sales leader, a consultant, a sales dude like me who loves probably the word curiosity, loves talking business and sales, but that's not why we're having him on. Just like I got his ego jacked up and pumped full of awards and stuff, but we're going to talk about Scott the dad. We're going to learn about Scott, how he grew up, how he's working on becoming the ultimate quarterback of his household. So Mr. Scotty Leese, welcome to the Quarterback Dadcast.
How's it going, Casey? I'm glad to be here, man.
It's going good, man. And for those that can't see this guy's wall is outstanding. We got a signed Jim Kelly. We got a farming picture. We got a sign that says pretty good, which I think I love the optimism and the positivity on this wall. So very cool stuff.
Well, don't get too twisted, because the irony is pretty good is Larry David from Curb Your Enthusiasm. So if you know anything about him, he's a little bit of a curmudgeon, which fits along with the Western New York roots that come, from my family and stuff like that. So
there you go. Well, and how we start each show is I want to know, what are you most grateful for a father right now?
I got 2 healthy boys.
Okay.
I'll just start right there. I've got a long, complicated health history, myself personally. And so to have 2 healthy kids so far who are 11 and 13 years old, I'll take it.
Specifically, what we've all gone through this last year and a half and still going through, health is something, man, I never take for granted. My daughter just turned 13. I got a 15-year-old son too. I am grateful for like the little things, little wins. Like when I hear my daughter say, I'm going to send that person a thank you note for doing something. Or when I see my son shake a person's hand and give him the old freaking death grip and look him in the eye, like that never gets old. That never gets old. I'm always grateful for that. So, well, cool. Well, tell me about what life looks like right now for you. Where you're living, what the whole Scotty Leese household looks like right now.
Yeah, well, we live in Austin, Texas. We moved here from the San Francisco Bay Area about 10 years ago. So a little bit ahead of the curve. Specifically relocated for work for me with one of the startups I was working at, but kind of tired of the commute times and the cost of living in the Bay Area and the weather and all this kind of stuff, and just didn't know anybody in Austin. I mean, I didn't even know like UT was in Austin, and there was like a blue city and a red state. I didn't know shit. Just kind of went for it. But we've been really happy here. So live here and typically spend a good amount of time back in California as well. My wife and I went to high school together. So our families live in the same town, and, all of our kind of old friends are in Northern California. So we usually go back there over the holidays for a couple weeks and over the summers for a couple weeks and things like that. But, that's kind of been shut off. So we got a lake house about an hour west of Austin that we spend some time at. And I go down to Costa Rica a couple times a year for work. We'll be there almost all of November. So
wow,
it's kind of what our living situation looks like.
How does work take you to Costa Rica?
One of the businesses that I run is called Surf and Sales, and it's a event business where I take 20 sales and sales leaders and revenue professionals and entrepreneurs down to Playa Grande, Costa Rica. And for a week, we talk shop and do sales and leadership trainings. And I give people surf lessons. I hire these locals to teach people how to surf and cook for us and clean up after us. And, it's just it's a reimagining of what a sales conference should be. And I started this with my partner, Richard Harris, in 2017, kind of as a way to rebel against the 100,000 person conferences and big ass convention centers. Like, that's just not my scene at all. So the benefit is I turned my love of surfing and travel into a business, and we have big companies sponsor it, and people pay us a decent chunk of money to come down there and hang out. So I found a way to take a couple surf trips a year and get paid for it, Casey.
That is, I'm already jealous. I got to learn how to do that, man.
Yeah.
I get tied into like golf. I'm a big golfer. So
see, okay. So golf and sales or golf and business, whatever, right? Pick a course or courses where the economics make sense for you. Take 15, 20 people down there, do some workshops, in the afternoons, golf in the morning, something like that. Go ahead. Steal the idea.
Let's go. I like it. I'm writing it, golf and sales.
Yeah.
I'm writing this down. Got to think big, go far. I do work for the company called Limitless Minds, which is Russell Wilson, Harry Wilson, Trevor Moawad, DJ Eitzen, founding partners. I'm a coach for them too, but we always talk about dream big and think big, and someone's going to do these type of thing. Why not me? So, talk about, I want to go back to your family. So like, so shout out to my wife too. We're junior high sweethearts, believe it or not.
Oh, you got me beat. What a one-upper.
7th grade band.
Oh, my goodness.
She was a flutist. I was a trumpet guy. And I always joke with my daughter, like, who would not want a trumpet player, honey? Silver trumpet too. So, but congrats on, how many years marriage is that?
17.
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
Now. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, tell me about what was life growing up for you, and how did your parents help shape you to be the father you are today?
Good questions. Well, my parents are both from Niagara Falls, Buffalo, New York. I was actually born in Wilmington, Delaware, where my dad was starting his doctoral program, University of Delaware Blue Hens, and then partway through, he transferred to Arizona State. So when I was a little baby, we moved to Tempe, Arizona. And then he finished his doctoral program and got a job teaching accounting at Chico State University in Northern California. So I spent all of my life as a kid growing up in Chico. It's probably about 60, 70,000 people in the city when I was growing up. College town. It's probably closer to 100,000 or more by now. Home of Sierra Nevada beer, if anybody's a microbrew.
Delicious.
Pale ale fan. Yeah. So fun fact, I went to high school with Sierra Grossman, who's Ken Grossman's daughter.
Wow.
Ken Grossman is the founder of Sierra Nevada. So Sierra and I were friends, and we actually had our wedding reception in the Sierra Nevada ballroom, which is this big, huge kind of I don't know what you call it, beer hall. There's a bands play there and a stage there. I don't know. Anyways, that's where we had our wedding reception. So that's the fun facts about Chico. And my dad was a teacher, as I mentioned, and I think that is like part of what has shaped me in my career, as well as as a father. My dad played college soccer at Niagara University. I'm guessing that was like the 60s somewhere. I don't know the years for sure, but like way ahead of the curve. Like this was before college soccer was like a, super popular kind of thing. And he got into coaching. So he's actually the winningest high school girls high school soccer coach in Northern California, like north of the Sacramento area. Coached me and my younger brother, all our lives, and then kind of pivoted right around puberty and 12, 13 years old, because he got tired of like teenage boys, smart ass attitudes and shit like that, and just decided that girls actually wanted to learn, and he enjoyed coaching them more. So I grew up with this like professor of accounting, this teacher who was like super by the book and like strict and rigid, but also a coach and athletic, and those things just like burned themselves into my mind and who I am. And then my mom was a RN. She was a nurse, and then part-time RN towards the middle part of our, youth. So there's a bit of like caretaking, healing, protecting, worrying, that kind of stuff going on. So yeah, that's a little bit about kind of the early formative years and like maybe where some of my style comes from.
Mm-hmm. Now, I saw you played soccer too. I see that right in college.
Yeah. I played tennis and soccer for 4 years in the Bay Area, a D2 school called Dominican.
Okay. How close is that to Humboldt?
So 2 to 2.5 hours, maybe. You got to get out to the coast. So Dominican is in San Rafael, which is just north of the Golden Gate Bridge in Marin County. So I got to go north quite a bit to get to Humboldt County, and I got to go west to get to the coast. And then you can't drive very fast on those roads, so it takes a bit. It takes a bit.
One of my former leaders lives in Marin County. I worked with for years.
Yeah, it's a super popular like Bay Area kind of suburb place to raise kids and that kind of thing. We used to play. I played Humboldt in soccer. We'd go up there, and they were one of the teams on our schedule all the time. So
I forgot to. I got to give a shout out to Uncle Rico to keep the streak alive for going down memory lane of playing college football. So I played quarterback against Humboldt State in I was Division II school called Central Washington. So, and people always think this podcast is about playing football, and it's like has nothing to do with football. But it's a metaphor that quarterback tends to be a leader of the team, but like in most marriages, at least the successful ones I see, that the wife is the general manager. And like my wife's ability to read the defense and see things, like I feel like that skill set helped me in life and help in business. But like my wife, I think is next level. Like the mother's intuition is, you do not want to mess with that. Something powerful about that.
Yeah, I don't mess with that. Believe me.
So how did you so you played football? You played soccer, you played tennis. Talk about how the things your parents taught you got you into the line of work you're doing now.
Well, frankly, nothing they taught me got me into sales or business whatsoever. I got to go backwards a little bit. So I get I get through school. I study psychology and religion in school. Nothing to do with, my mom's field nor my dad's field. I don't take any business. I think maybe I had to take one marketing course just because it was like a prereq or something. That's it. I finished school. I go to grad school. I'm studying learning theory and like how to apply it to technology. And my thought process was, well, maybe I'll train people on how to do stuff. I didn't even know what that meant at all. So maybe there's a little bit of like the coaching and teaching and training stuff from my dad kind of starting to bleed in there. So I finished grad school and then I get super sick. I'm 22 years old. It's like a week or two before my 23rd birthday. And all hell breaks loose for the next 4 years. I spend the next 4 years in the hospital fighting for my life. Wow. Had autoimmune diseases, ulcerative colitis, colon cancer scare. I could go on and on and on. 9 major surgeries, 4 abdominal surgeries, 2 emergency life-saving abdominal surgeries. Got addicted to painkillers and opioids in the process. So by the time I'm like, quote unquote, healed, right? I'm 27 years old. I just lost all of my education in my mind. I don't remember shit, right? I've been in agony and hospitalized, not even breathing fresh air, let alone drugged up for 4 years. So I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do with my life? I did not fancy myself ever as like a kind of grunt worker. Like I'd been the captain of my tennis team, the captain of my soccer teams forever, the quarterback, if you will, even though I never played American football. I'm like, well, where can I like go work where I can make up for lost time and kind of advance, my career and that kind of thing. And I had a college tennis teammate who was in sales and he was like, you should try sales. And I'm like, are you sure, man? I'm like a wallflower. Like I'm not the life of the party kind of person. I'm pretty shy, pretty reserved. Like the only time I would really come alive is like you put me on the field and then I'm like barking orders at everybody. Otherwise, I just kind of sit back and observe things. And he's like, well, you're super competitive. I don't know anybody more competitive than you. And, if you do good, you get paid. And if you don't, you get cut. I'm like, okay, I understand that. I get that. So maybe I'll give it a shot. So to tie that back to like what I learned from my parents, my dad is like a workaholic. If he's not preparing for his, classes or grading papers or writing books and putting things out there in journals and getting published, he's working on all of his soccer club stuff with his players, his teams, practice schedules, games, traveling all over the place, doing all this kind of stuff. So the incredible work ethic was something that I picked up on and absorbed. And it was more of like well, you might not be the most talented person in the world, but you can outwork everyone. And, he was very realistic. He's not one of these like toxic positivity kind of people that's like, go out there and you could win any game, He'd be like, we're going to get our ass kicked this weekend. We play the best team in the state. They're going to crush us probably, but that's okay. We need to challenge ourselves. We need to learn. We need to see where we need to improve, whatnot. So I picked up on that desire to put myself into uncomfortable situations and not fool myself that I was going to do super, super well, but just tell myself it's going to be worth it. So this idea and notion of like, you got to go through hell in order to make it out the other side, that resonated with me. So you combine like that work ethic with that kind of mentality coming from my dad in particular. I think that formed a little bit of a baseline of why I might be able to succeed in sales. Kind of a long winding story there, but hopefully I tied it together okay.
No, it's a good one. I'm very curious. So I have a question. So talk about how did you know these health issues? You're 22, life's great, you're an athlete, and all of a sudden, boom, all hell breaks loose. I mean, how did you know what was right, and what ended up, if you don't mind me asking, what did they finally figure out what was going on?
Well, they finally figured I ended up having autoimmune diseases and specifically ulcerative colitis. So, and then if you have ulcerative colitis long enough, you end up with colon cancer. And so I have had my entire colon, my large intestine removed, and I was too sick to do it in kind of one shot. So they had to do it bit by bit and all these different surgeries, and the surgeries didn't take. And it's just a nightmare. It's not one of those things where you're like, you feel sick and you can't figure out why. It's like you feel sick and you have immediate obvious symptoms. Like I'm 6'2". When I was playing soccer, I was 195 and pretty strong. I weighed 140 about 6-7 weeks after I first started having symptoms. So you also can't lose 55, 60 pounds in a few weeks.
Damn.
And not have your organs freak out. So I had like organ failure threatening, crazy things like that, super weak, totally anemic. And, it took a while for them to just like peg the diagnosis on ulcerative colitis, but they knew, we all knew straight away it was like GI related, something going on in the stomach and the system and that kind of thing. So, yeah, not fun. Would never wish it upon anyone.
Is that hereditary?
They don't know. My family does not have any history of it. They don't know if it's hereditary. They don't know if it's stress related. They don't know if it's like a allergic reaction to something. So, that's something that I sit with and in dark moments every now and then still wonder, like, the why me kind of question, like, what the fuck? Where did this come from? How do we not know, did I do this to myself? Right. So because people say it's stress related. Well, I was going to grad school trying to do a 2-year master's program in 1 year while playing soccer. And I was teaching a full load of undergraduate courses. And the course they gave me to teach to undergrads was computer literacy. And I didn't know how to use a fucking computer at all. I got through college without an email address, dude. So I thought they were going to give me a basic Psych 101 course, which I could teach probably in my sleep. So I was having to learn literally how to use like Excel, and then the next morning have to teach a bunch of 18-year-olds how to do it. And they probably knew more than me. So you can make the case that like I put myself through such extreme hell and stress that I fucked my whole system up.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, maybe it has nothing to do with that. It could they think it could be diet related. Well, years later, when I was like 31 or something like that, I decided to get all these like massive allergy tests. Well, it turns out I'm allergic to gluten and dairy and caffeine and all of this stuff that I've been putting in my body, not knowing any better for 30 something years. Right. So could that have done it? Probably didn't help. Oh, it's tough when you can't really put the blame on anything. It is what it is,
Wow. Well, you're healthy now though.
I mean, that's a relative scale, man. I'm have bouts of pain all the time. My body is, wired differently than other people. It'll never be the same. But yeah, for me, from where I've been, super healthy. And
wow.
You learn a lot from it.
How much did your sickness help propel you from a mindset perspective as it relates to business and the success you've had there, as well as just fatherhood?
Well, I think it completely changed my belief system. And what I mean by that is I always knew I was capable, but never quite thought that I was good enough or could hang for very long. And what happened was I was able to recognize that I'll probably never go through anything harder than this ever in my life again. And I survived it and came out the other side. So now, like, that's a superpower to me. And so that there's like no fear really left to try crazy shit and see what happens. Cause what's the worst that could happen? I get fired. The fuck do I care? I'll find another job. Right. And so in business, and particularly in sales and sales leadership roles and startups and entrepreneurial endeavors, like, you got to be a little bit crazy. You got to be a little bit fearless. You certainly have to be confident. You have to be able to inspire others with that same level of confidence and kind of wake them up to their own realization that they're capable of doing anything. So, I try really hard to pass that on down to my kids, right? And the belief that they can do anything, the belief that they can outwork people, the belief that they're more resilient than they think, the belief that they're capable of changing, and who they are is not a permanent thing at 11 and 13 years old, let alone at 23 years old or 32 years old. They have the ability to make changes overnight. And those are conversations that I have with my kids that I didn't have with my parents until I was in the grip of sickness and out the other side of it. I didn't have those conversations at 11 and 12 years old, let alone 8. I mean, I've talked to my kids about money and finances and career and sport and all of this stuff in really fairly mature ways, I think, since they were quite little. So hopefully they pick up on some of the mindset sooner than I picked up on it. I think that's my main aim.
How do those, I guess 2-part question, and I hate asking 2 questions inside of 1 question. I hate doing that, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to break my rule. So how have those questions impacted your kids? And then the other question would be, do you think generationally our parents weren't used to being vulnerable and open males with us, that now you want to try to flip the switch and be more like that?
I think that the generational part is absolutely true. I don't know that I'm not somebody who runs around and is like, oh, I'm going to change the male dynamic and, be totally open and expressive with my feelings and all that kind of stuff. I'm not trying to make myself the poster child for that. What I am pretty good at is just talking about the shit that I've been through and go through, and not having much of, if any, of a filter. I have intentionally tried to cultivate my brand to be one that's authentic and direct and not full of fluff, not always positive, not always negative. Just, I'm a fucking normal person, And so the vulnerability part and being okay to talk about this kind of stuff is actually a key central component to leadership in my mind. How are my people supposed to open up so I can help them if I'm not even opening up to them? How is it okay? How can I sit there and tell my people oh, go take care of yourself, take your PTO, if I work 80 hours a week and I never take PTO? That's disingenuous to me. So, and then the mindset impacting them was the first part of your question, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they put themselves out there, my older son, out of nowhere in 6th grade was like, I'm going to try out for the cross country team. And we're like, what? Cross country team? What are you talking about? I can barely get you to go run, to stay in shape for your soccer practices and stuff. He's like, no, I actually really, I think I'll like it. Goes and does it. Turns out he's really good at it. He doesn't get tired. I don't understand. He's like a Kenyan. I don't understand. He just runs like a deer forever. And now he does track. He's on the cross country team in 8th grade. And, he's not, he also doesn't love to put himself typically in new situations and circumstances. He has Asperger's. He's on the autism spectrum. He has sensory processing disorder. He has ADHD. He's got a lot of things that we've had to spend a lot of time and energy and money, frankly, on to get him to this kind of place. And so I like to think that the combination of the things that we've tried to instill in him and all the therapy and work that we've done and his own just bravery empowered him to say, I'm going to go try this thing. And that's a huge, we talked about wins earlier. Like that's a huge fucking win.
That's
Huge,
awesome.
you know. That's just one example with him. My younger son, you know, he is the life of the party kind of person. He's got a massive personality, you know, talks all sorts of smack. He's on 3 very high level elite select teams, baseball, soccer, and basketball. And
Hey everybody, it's Casey Jaycox. I want to take a quick break to talk about my friends up at Catch Sitka Seafoods who continue to be just an amazing loyal sponsor. And for those of you who've tried it, thank you. For those of you who haven't, you're missing out. And now's the time to make sure that you visit catchsitkaseafoods.com and get some of those amazing smoked salmon. Get some of that amazing rockfish, blackfish, black cod, salmon, whatever it might be, whatever you like. But what's great about opportunities they have, now's the time to subscribe to a box so that you're going to get that reliable cadence of the best fish directly from the dock to the doorstep. And what's great about Catch Sitka Seafoods, they make it so easy. So those that maybe aren't the best chefs at home, doesn't matter. They're going to give you this beautiful, nice laminated recipe card that tells you exactly how long to cook it, whether you're going to barbecue, you're going to bake, you're going to fry, whatever the way you want to do it, they're going to make it easy. So please visit them today, catchsitkaseafoods.com. Sign up for a subscription so that you know you're going to get the best fish delivered directly to your door. You won't regret it. And just like my daughter Riley says, Dad, I don't even like fish. And she does now because of my friends up at Catch Sitka Seafood. So with that, let's get right back to today's episode.
He just like wants to work, you know. He'll come home from school and be like, do I have a practice or a lesson today or whatever? I'm like, no, today's your off day. He's like, can you text our, you know, his hitting coach, like, can you text so-and-so and see if he has any openings? I'm like, seriously? Are you sure? Yeah. Let's go hit for an hour. And if not, he's like, goes out there and does the stuff himself. So he's just like, he's fairly self-motivated, and he knows, like, you know, he's not 6'5" or built like a truck. You know, he's smaller. He hasn't hit like his growth spurt yet. He just somehow knows that he's going to have to put in the time and energy and the work. So that's an example with him.
Do you think kids like that are born that way, or do you think you or your wife have done anything to shape that?
I think a bit of both. There's got to be, I don't have any kind of scientific research for this, of course, but I think a little bit you're born with it to some degree, but it can be groomed and kind of built up and enhanced with the right type of encouragement, the right type of modeling. And I think that we have that. I mean, my wife was an athlete as well. She played multiple sports in high school, was on the water ski team in college. You know, so my kids grew up around athletic parents who, you know, weren't the most privileged, had to work hard, put in the time, you know, and kind of have this chip on our shoulder to prove to ourselves and to everybody else that we belong and that, you know, we're one of the best. And I think when kids grow up around that, some of that is going to rub off on them. But I got 2 kids. They're quite different. My kids, my older one, I still got to kick him out the house to go do some work on his own. He'd like to just show up to practice in the game and call it a day. Where my younger one is looking for opportunity to do more all the time. So that had to just be, you know, that's a piece of DNA that he got that the other one didn't.
It's funny how, man, all the cliches when you're raising kids, like your kids are they're so different, and like when they're younger, you kind of see it, but as they get older, like it's crazy how different they are wired. Like both my kids are competitive; they work hard in their different ways, but they're just their own person. And one of my friends, I always got to give love, named Bert on the East Coast. He always talks about, you know, loving your kids where they are, not where you want them to go. And, you know, like you probably see it in your area, like it's how many kids live vicariously through people. And for me, it's just like, you know, I was a football guy. My son plays golf and basketball. My daughter's a hooper. I was the kid that joked around and would shoot 3-point hook shots just to be random. You but like, that's not, that's them, but it's just interesting. But it's fun seeing them put in the work.
It is. And your friend Bert, that's a great quote. It also should be noted that that's actually not easy.
Super hard, dude.
Parents and dads to do. I catch myself with that all the time. It's work that we have to do to not put that shit on them.
Mm-hmm. Well, one question I've got from this journey of interviewing shit tons of dads, and I love your potty mouth, dude. This is gonna be an F-bomb city. We're gonna like put the E out, and it's gonna be an F-bomb, shove F-bombs. But one question I fucking love to ask is, hey, Ryder or Elliot, that's my kid's name. Tell me how dad can be a better dad this week. I got that from my friend named Matt Miller. Shout out to Matt, Limitless Minds coach with me, or tell me how I can be a better husband. Right? Do we really want to know that answer? Well, if we want to grow, fuck yeah, we want to know. And it gives me anxiety. I felt those nerves in my heart right now in my body when I asked you that question.
Yeah. I think we probably want to know, but we might not want to make the changes required to fulfill that prophecy,
Yeah. So one of my favorite quotes someone told me is named John Kaplan. He said, Casey, it's okay not to know every answer. It's just not okay not to do anything about it.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah. And that's the hard part, is like taking those actions, something that I've really been trying to practice over the last couple years is shrinking the delta between idea and action. So when this idea comes into my head, I try to do something about it straight away. So I don't get paralyzed by overanalysis or overthinking and second guess, myself. So if I ask that question to my kids or my wife and they told me something, I try to move on it like straight away. I'm very much just like, I'm not going to sit there and strategize and come up with a plan. That's not the way I fucking operate. The way I operate is, oh, you want me to do that? Okay, I'm going to go do it. That's probably I'm going to do it like a B+ quality. Like, that's good enough. Let's go. What's next? Mm-hmm. And that's how I kind of move through it. My question for your friend would be, okay, if I ask my kids that, how do I get them to give me a thoughtful response that's not like, you should let me play Fortnite for the next 24 hours straight? Because that's the kind of shit that I would get, right? And then I would say to my kids, okay, yeah, very funny. Come on. No, but like, seriously, what else could I do?
Yeah.
So if I can't get a sincere answer from them, that's probably worrisome, meaning like I somehow haven't created a safe space for them to go there, Yeah,
it's fair. I'm passionate about that. I got taught in my sales career of I was taught to me as TED-based questions. Tell me, explain, describe. Sounds super simple, but it's fucking gold. It is fucking gold. And just like in business, when you're teaching your reps or you're asking good questions and you hear someone say great question, you made someone think. But if we ask shitty questions and the client, and you're just, reading your PowerPoint or your frickin' deck, whatever you're doing, and you're just going through the motions, well, why would you expect anything different? I think the same thing relates to parenting. If I ask shitty questions to my kids, hey, bud, how was school? What'd you do? Did you have fun? I mean, those are shitty.
Yeah, that's a shitty question. How was school today? Fine. Good. Yeah.
So I practice TED on them all the time. So I'm like, hey, right, tell me the hardest part about golf practice today. Tell me how you stayed positive when you hit one in the water.
Yeah.
And then I say, then it's like, it's not just one question, but it's second, third level. Tell me more about it.
Yeah.
And every time they end up doing it.
Yeah, that's good. I usually say, tell me one good thing that happened to school today. And then they'll give me an answer. And then I say, and what was something bad that happened? So I try to get a little bit of specifics other than just fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So as we think about fatherhood, and obviously I've yet to meet the dad that has the perfect journey, making all the right decisions, but like, I'll lead with my gap. So my gap's patience. I'm always working on patience. I think it's because I'm a competitive person. I've learned to know what it takes to be successful in certain lines of work, but I have to be really present and self-aware about my patience. So with that said, Scott, tell me, like, as you think about, as you're always trying to be that ultimate leader of your home, the good role model for your kids and a good husband. Tell me what an area of your dad game you're always working to become better.
Well, I also lack patience, so I'll just throw that out there. I I'm always trying to work on empathy. I am wired very different than the other three members of my household, who all have very severe ADHD, and I do not. This is an epic struggle in my house. Everything from like just distractibility to moving super slow, not being able to work on timelines appropriately, not being organized at all, place being a mess. This stuff, like, it grades on you when you're not like that, and I get it threefold. And my gap is that I just can't, it's so hard for me to relate to it. It's just not a part of me at all. And so I like the irritation like builds in me, and then I'll have some moment where I'll snap, and it's just like it all comes out. And I got to work on all the time. I got to work on like building a longer fuse. And then when the fuse like goes off, it's not an explosion, it's a fizzle. That's like deep work that I have to do still.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel it building and you just can't stop it?
Yes. I mean, candidly, like sometimes I don't want to stop it either. Seriously.
How come?
Because, I'm a flawed human being that sometimes just like wants to take my frustration out on something.
Mm-hmm.
And by no means am I saying like I should do that or other people should do that. I'm just saying like I definitely have the thought sometimes where it's like I can feel this building, and you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to let him have it.
Yeah. It's hard, man. It's I remember my dad when we were young, he would drop the most intense God damn it's at me. God damn it, Casey. And it would, like, you get a little giggle. Me and my sister would laugh he'd get more pissed because it was so funny. I don't know why. It was like scary, and then it turned giggles. And then we'd pretty much run and hide because we were like, oh shit, what's going to happen now? But like, just a good old fashioned GD bomb it. Yeah. So like my dad, unfortunately, his health is not good at all. He's 79 years old. And I actually write about my father's health in my book I wrote. And he's got dementia and he's got a rap sheet of stuff. But like, he did so many things fun, which he created a house of laughter. And actually, you said a word earlier that this is so random, and I don't know why I'm going to talk about this, but he instead of saying a fart, he would say a fluff. Like, who fluffs, right? And so like whenever I hear the word fluff, it like takes me back to my dad fluffing, which again,
that's funny.
Yeah, I told you I was random. Okay, so as we wrap up here, before we go into my lightning round, which is me really going really random, as we talked about the things we shared, and I appreciate your honesty and just transparency, because I think this is going to relate to a lot of dads at home, no matter what line of work they do. If you were to summarize what we talked about today, maybe describe 2 or 3 things that dads, me, you, anybody, any dad out there can work on to become that ultimate leader of their home.
I think increasing our patience, since both you and I struggle with that one. I think just increasing the communication around certain things that maybe we did not talk about. That could be mindset, that could be career, that could be financial, it could be emotional, vulnerability type stuff. So being willing to have some of those conversations. And the third thing would probably be kind of just seeking to understand, in a way, like understand maybe why we're parenting the way we are because of the things that we have experienced on our end and the things that we've gone through, and spending some time with that and, understand how that was constructed. And I think if you understand how that was constructed, it gives you the opportunity to keep the good bits and maybe chip away at some of the parts that are unnecessary or unhealthy. And you can recognize, oh, I understand why I'm doing that. I don't want to perpetuate that one and pass that one on down. So those are the three main things that come to mind for me.
I love it. I don't know if you meant to do it, but you quoted our boy Stephen Covey: "Seek to understand before being understood."
I did not mean to do that.
Oh, you did?
Actually, my partner Amy Volos on Thursday Night Sales is always talking about how we should, seek to understand before we judge. So I think I've channeled her, not Stephen Covey. So that's before my time, Casey. You're way older than me.
How old are you?
44. I'm probably older than you.
45.
You are older than me. I win.
Yep. Yeah, I like what Amy's thought. I had this phrase hit me. So the book I wrote is called "Win the Relationship, Not the Deal." But I had this phrase last year in 2020 hit me that said, "If we all as humans listen to learn versus listen to persuade, watch what would happen."
That's good.
And it just made me think of that. So I like Amy's mindset there. All right. So I know that we both got to go, but I'm going to take you into lightning round, which I go completely random. I'm going to ask you anything on top of my head. Your job is just to answer quickly with short answers.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Where are we going surfing tomorrow?
Costa Rica.
Okay. What kind of board?
Fun board.
Okay.
That's like 8-foot-ish.
Okay. If I called you Spicoli, would you like it or hate it?
I would say that I'm used to it. I would say I like it. I would say I like it.
Okay. If I was coming to your house tonight, what are we cooking for dinner?
Oh man. I love cooking, actually. Fun fact.
Okay.
If you were coming over, it probably has to be Italian food. My mom's 100% Italian. I'm 50% Sicilian. So I'm just going to keep it simple.
I love we don't make enough spaghetti and meatballs in my house, so I would welcome that meal.
Yeah.
What's the last book you read?
Brave New World, Aldous Huxley.
Okay. Last movie you watched?
Last movie I watched, I think it was maybe the Matrix trilogy with my kids who were watching it for the first time.
Okay.
It's been a little bit.
Favorite 80s comedy? Movie?
Seinfeld. Is
okay.
that 80s?
Oh, yeah. I'd give it 80s, 90s. How about favorite 80s movie comedy?
Favorite 80s movie comedy? The Naked Gun.
God, Frank Drebin.
Yeah, that's the first one that come to mind.
Nice beaver. Thanks. I just had it stuffed. My buddies give me a hard time. Like they said, Jay Cox, if they didn't have 80s movies, you wouldn't be funny. Like I love quoting movies.
That's pretty good.
Oh boy. Okay. And last question: if they were to write a book or movie about your life, what would be the title?
Holy shit! Title of it. I have no idea how to answer that question. You know what I'm going to say? You can steal this right here. Pretty good.
Pretty good. Who would play you?
Who would play me? Bradley Cooper.
You kind of look like him.
It's the only reason I said that is because somebody told me the other day.
I could see that, dude.
It's because I've been growing my hair out for the first time since I was 20. So,
see, this is why I shaved my head. I was. You had to shave your head when you were still using mousse. Like, who uses mousse?
That actually might be the one takeaway that I have of this whole podcast. You need to shave your head when you're still using mousse. That's gold right there.
I'd make a t-shirt. How about that one?
That is very good.
Oh, shit. Well, dude, I've only known you for 46 minutes. I feel like I've known you a long time. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you talking dad stuff. Andy, Paul, brother, thank you for introducing me and Scott. We definitely, I think, are a little out there and random, which I think brings a level of fun and humility to any organization or conversation. To all the dads, I hope you enjoyed what we talked about. To learn more about Scott, how can we allow people to do that? Where can I send them?
My main business is scottleaseconsulting.com. You can check out my event business, surfandsales.com. And I have the world's largest and longest running virtual sales happy hour at thursdaynightsales.com. And then you can always connect with me on LinkedIn. So.
Wow. Thursday night sales. So why would I want to join right now?
Why would you want to join? Because you want to network, you want to hang out, you want to have a laugh, you want a sense of community, you want to listen to people talk shop about sales and leadership and business, and it's free, it doesn't cost you anything. And, you've been locked up raw for a year and a half, so what the fuck else are you going to do on Thursday night?
I love it. I'm going to make sure both those are tagged in the show notes of this conversation. I want to say thanks again to our sponsors, Catch Sitka Seafoods. If you're looking for fresh seafood dock to door, whether you're a restaurant, whether you're a consumer, give them a shout. They're a small-owned business that was impacted by COVID, but I'm glad I use them. My daughter didn't even like fish. She does now, whether it's smoked salmon or halibut, it's freaking money. And I also want to say thank you to Acme Homes Washington. My boy Bob Cumming, former college teammate, is now a beast of a home builder in the state of Washington. So if you're someone in Washington, you're listening to this, please give him a shout. Check him out. But Scott, man, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for talking fatherhood and sharing your story. I appreciate you, brother.
You're welcome. This is fun.